Hey everyone, this is Aaron Lewis, and today we are going to be doing another how to care for a cockatiel video, and we are joined with my female cockatiel, Isla. She is a Latino cockatiel. I've had her for about a year and a half or 2 years now, and she is in the same cage as Chico. Now, I didn't bring him in here because he's very loud and he'd be flying all over the place, so I thought I'd just bring Isla in so it can be a very nice calm video. So it has been a while since I have done a how to care for a cockatiel video. Maybe like 2 to 3 years ago I did my very first one. So I just wanted to do another one, update everyone on how I care for cockatiels. It might be the same as what I used to do, but let's get stuck into it. So first off, I just want to start by saying this is my personal opinion on how to care for cockatiels. There is no correct way to care for a cockatiel. Everyone has their own ways on how they personally care for a bird or any sort of animal, and you will have those sort of people that will attack you for caring for your bird that certain way, even though it's working great for you. So I just want to make that disclaimer now. I care for my cockatiel probably differently to how other bird owners care for their birds. So I want no hateful comments in the comment section, even though that's probably going to be non-avoidable, but I just want to put that disclaimer out there at the start of this video. Now, with the cockatiels, they are a very social bird. Here in Australia, in the sort of close to the desert area, they fly around in big, huge flocks. The same with the budgies, the budgerigars, they fly around in big, huge flocks. So if you own a cockatiel, if you're not going to be their #1 companion, always in there with them, playing with them, letting them out to fly around the bedroom with you, well, not with you, obviously you guys can't fly, but you get what I mean. I would recommend getting a second cockatiel just as a little playmate or a talking mate with that cockatiel. Even if you don't want to house them in the same cage, just have them right next to each other, so while you're not there, they can be talking together. Maybe they'll be playing together at the cage, where the cages meet. But me personally, I would recommend not just getting one cockatiel if you're not going to be there all the time to keep it occupied. They're very much like a dog. You need to be there all the time, or otherwise they'll get bored. It can cause distress. They can start chewing at their feathers. So it's just very important that you do socialize with them if you do not have a second bird. Now, another factor in for caring for cockatiels, before you go out and buy a cockatiel, there are some things you need to consider. Now, with cockatiels, they have a protective layer on their coat, their feathers. It's called dander, and it's like a dusty sort of flowery like substance, you might say, that when they like shake or they preen themselves, it will go all over your stuff. My bird room is completely covered in a very white light dust, and it's purely from my cockatiels. Even their cage is covered in white. It's meant to be a dark grey, but it's like a white sort of colour. That is purely because of the dander they release off. Now, ways that I used to avoid it when it was in my room, I would spray them with a water bottle regularly. Now, it doesn't stop it completely, but it does keep down a lot of the dander that comes out into the atmosphere. So if you're an asthmatic or you're a neat freak and you hate dust, the cockatiel is probably not the bird for you. You could either try sun conure or a green cheek conure. I don't really have problems with them releasing dander, purely because it's mainly just the cockatiels that have dander on their feathery coats. So you gotta have to think about that too. Now, a lot of bird owners out there will just feed their parrots seed. Now, back in the day, that's all people used to feed their birds. They didn't know any different. And obviously the birds, they lived, but they didn't thrive. So with my birds, I like to feed them 60% a mixture of fruit and vegetables, and then the remainder is 35% pellets. They are on the Better Farm pellets. I'll put them up on the screen somewhere. And then 5% is seed. Now, it's just very important that you're feeding your birds fresh fruit and vegetables every day, because in the wild, that's what they eat daily. They don't have a seed dish that they go and munch on. They obviously go out, they fly, and they will eat fruit and vegetables. So it's just very important when keeping a bird in captivity that you do give them those vitamins and stuff that they need while eating fruit and vegetables. Now, for a treat, like if you're training your bird, I use millet. I have millet right here. Or I used to use sunflower seeds, but they are extremely unhealthy. They can cause them to have fatty livers. If they're not exercising a lot, it can cause death in the future. So I try to keep away from sunflower seeds, but I also use almonds and walnuts, just little pieces. and they seem to like them, but my birds also love apples, so I use that as a treat too. Now another factor in is worming. Now I worm my birds every 3 months. I think I use a little thing called Avitol. You just put it in their water, they come up and drink it. Now worming your birds isn't a necessity. Not many people will worm their birds unless it is needed, but with me, I just like to use that precaution to worm your birds. Just like you treat your dogs for worms even though they don't have it, it's more of a precaution in case they ever do get it. They're already treated for it, it will just flow right through their system and you won't have any problems. Now, there is another very important topic I want to talk about. I have a lot of comments on previous bird videos about people will write to me and be like, my bird's bleeding from the mouth, it's bleeding from the wing, what do I do? Now if your bird is bleeding or you personally feel like anything is severely wrong with your bird, please do not write to me asking what to do. I am not a vet of any sort, I am not a professional bird person, I purely have just kept cockatiels for a long time. So in my opinion, if my bird was bleeding from the beak or bleeding from the nose quite drastically, I would take it to the vet right away. That is just something that you have to do. You don't have time to comment asking me, even though I do appreciate you guys reaching out to me to try and get advice. I'm not a vet. It's very important that you get your bird right to the vet, because if your bird's bleeding and they just keep bleeding, they don't have long to live, because birds obviously don't have a big supply of blood in their body. So it is very important that you get it to the vet right away. And other factors you got to think about, if your bird's being lethargic, if it's sitting on the bottom of the cage, that's not what birds are like. So you might also want to take them to the vet to just get them checked up on, see what's happening. Maybe they're having an egg problem, maybe they're egg bound, or maybe they're just sick with something, so it's very important that you get them right to the vet. This next topic to do with birds is very controversial. Every bird owner has a different opinion on whether to clip your bird's wings and not to clip your bird's wings. Some owners feel very strongly, if you clip your bird's wings, you're a horrible owner, you're cruel. Me personally, I am all for doing what you feel is right. If you personally need to clip your bird's wings to keep them safe in your house, do it. Don't listen to what other people have to say. If you have to have your fans on all the time because you live in Australia and it's super hot, but you want to have your birds out with you but you don't want them flying up into the fan, clip their wings. If it's safer for them, do it. If your bird's clumsy like Chico is, he'll constantly be flying into the windows, he'll even fly into the fan sometimes when it's not even on. Clip their wings. Me personally, I only clip 2 feathers off of Chico just so he can't reach that height or that speed to hurt himself, because I still want them to be able to fly around the house with me. But personally, if your bird is in any harm of being injured or hurt, I would recommend clipping their wings. Now, that being said, there are a lot of bird owners that would say just train your bird, but some birds, they are quite clumsy and that just simply can't be trained out of them. So it is very important to do what is safe for your bird. Don't listen to what anyone else has to say, what you feel is safe for your bird. Now, if you do plan on clipping your bird's wings, you only need to clip 4 of each wing off of their feathers. I usually clip the very last ones here, these long ones here. But as you can see, Isla has all her feathers because she is a great flyer. She'll fly around the room and I usually just hold my hand out and she'll land on it. But birds like Chico, he is very clumsy, so I do clip some of his wings. Now, their cage size, it depends what sort of bird you have, whether they're in the cage all the time, but I would personally just recommend getting a flight cage, or if your bird's out all the time, like my birds used to be, they used to be out pretty much all the time, 24/7. But because I work now, they are in their cage some of the time, so they do have a bigger cage to fly about, roam. But now that I work, they do have a bigger cage to roam around, play with their toys, fly about in their cage. So it's very important to think about all those factors. Obviously, the bigger the cage you can get is always the best, no matter what. I do not at all recommend getting those little, they usually come in colours, they're like pink and blue, those little cages like this big for any sort of bird, budgie, cockatiel, conya, anything. Those cages are completely cruel and they should not be even on the shelf for people to come out and buy. Firstly, I just recommend starting off with a flight cage. They are a decent size, they're probably like this wide, they're fairly tall, so your bird has plenty of room to fly around in it. I have never owned a flight cage. I usually just get AV1 cages. They're always very large and they're very strong metal. So That's what I personally get, but I will have some photos up on the screen while I'm talking about cage size so you guys have a rough idea. And I'll also have the photo of that pink and blue cage that I always see at the pet shop that is usually for little budgies or something, but please, please, please do not get those sort of cages because they're very small. Sometimes your birds can't even open their wings all the way. So it's just very important that you get the biggest cage you can get, and if those little cages that are like this big is the biggest cage you can get, do not get a bird. Because they do need a lot of room to move around if you're not going to be letting them out all the time. So just please think about that. Cage size is very important when owning a bird. Now there are actually a couple harmful products that you need to think about also when owning a cockatiel or any bird of that sort. Now, first off, you don't want to own any non-stick cookware in your house. It is very dangerous for the birds, the fumes that it lets off into the atmosphere around the house or in the bird room. It's just very important that you stop using them if you plan on getting a bird or if you already have a bird. Please, please, please stop using it because the fumes from that can actually kill your bird or cause cancer in your bird, so it's just very important not to use non-stick cookware. Also, avocados. Avocados are completely toxic to birds. It will fatally kill them instantly. So please, that's another thing not to feed your bird. Now, another thing that I get on comments is take those rope perches out of your cage, it will kill your bird. Now, once again, this is a thing that everyone has their own opinion on. I'm putting in this section so you guys can make that choice for yourself. I personally use rope perches, I always have. For the 13 plus years I've owned birds, I've always used rope perches, I've had no problems. But once again, there always is those couple people that have problems with rope perches. The birds will chew them, they'll digest them, and it'll get caught in their system and it will cause them a big giant vet bill to go get surgery, or sometimes they're not fast enough and it will sadly kill the bird. But once again, that is a decision that you as your bird owner will need to make. Me personally, I've never had an issue with it. I'm constantly changing out rope perches, putting in new ones, putting in old ones that they've used. So me personally, I don't have a problem with it, but once again, I'm just putting it in this section so you guys can make that educated decision on whether you want to have rope perches in your bird cage or not. Another one is a bird mirror. Now, this is something that isn't really harmful to your bird, but it's more or less that it incites hormones and they'll vomit all over their mirror, and it's just not right because personally they feel that that's another bird that they're feeding, that they're regurgitating food to, that they're getting excited to. Now, people seem to think that if your bird's alone to get a mirror, but I don't recommend getting a mirror. It causes hormones, it can cause stress in some birds. It just purely depends on your bird. Me personally, I've never owned a mirror, I've never owned a toy with mirrors on it, because I've read horrible things about mirrors. So if you're at the pet store and you're asking, should I get another bird, or they recommend a mirror, just do not get the mirror. Please go to a rescue, ask your friend if they're getting rid of any birds that they don't want. Just make sure that you don't get a mirror. It's very bad for your bird. Always make sure that if you're looking for your bird to not be alone, that you at least give them another feathery friend to play around with. I couldn't be near Chico all the time, so I decided to get him Isla. And because Isla, Chico and Arlo are all in the same room, they're right next to each other in their cages, I haven't worried about getting Arlo another companion, purely because Arlo is pretty connected with me too. Whenever I walk past the door or into the room, he goes wild, so I don't really see the need for him to have another companion. And plus, if he needs to, he can always squawk across to the Cockatiels. They'll play around if they're ever out together. Chico and him don't get along, but Isla and him get along fine. Bird shampoo. Now, this is a big thing. I was scrolling, I think I saw it on Bird Nerd Sophie's video that people were selling bird shampoo. Now, this isn't at all not important or needed for your bird. It could be harmful if they digest it. Birds clean themselves, they preen themselves, they have always done that. The same with cats. You don't need to wash a cat because it licks itself, it cleans itself. That is the same with a bird. If they have water in their cage, they'll jump in it, they'll have a quick bath, and then you'll see them preening themselves like Isla's doing here. Now, preening is also a good thing because it means your bird is comfortable. It means your bird is happy, it's content. So bird shampoo is not at all needed, and it can be toxic depending on if you get a cheap brand too. So don't waste your money on getting bird shampoo. Just make sure you have a nice bath in there, or you spray them down regularly and they will preen themselves and they'll look clean and they'll be healthy and happy. I think that pretty much ends this how to care for a cockatiel video. Thank you so much for staying to the end and watching this video. I do hope that people out there that are looking to get a cockatiel, or maybe they already have one and they're just like me, and sometimes I'll just watch random bird videos just because I like learning more about cockatiels or learning how other people keep cockatiels. So thank you for stopping by and watching this video. I wish you the best of luck with your new little feathery friend, or if you already have one, the best of luck with it. Make sure you go check out my social medias, which are always down in the description box below. I post regularly on there. I usually post my birds, my dogs, my fish, so make sure you go check that out. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you already haven't. Only, I think it's 2.3% of my views actually come from people that are subscribed from my YouTube channel. So if you guys want to support me, help me grow, help me get more videos out to you, then please hit that subscribe button. Make sure you give this video a big thumbs up or a dislike if you didn't like it. It's purely up to you. Anyways, have a good day and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.